All right, you guys, I want to do a little update on some things with the crypto market in general and the what we're seeing out of the traditional market this week, but not too much talking about price, but an idea. And so everybody by now knows of FTX, and um, over the summer, I remember warning people to get out of these high yield, basically programs where you could stake something and then you would get a 9 or 10% return. And anytime there's that kind of upside for you, there's going to be higher risk. And so sure enough, the whole Celsius thing unfolded. And then over probably around August, I started to talk about something I was calling systemic risk. And the idea comes from banking, and they're called DSIBs, and they're basically banks that are too big to fail. And there's those banks all over the world that are like that. And so that's where you get into the bailouts. And so I have been watching this FTX story, and I had warned that Binance, and I actually had shorted Binance token because I had this idea that these exchanges that people consider too big to fail, they could have systemic risk. And so granted, my Binance token did not play out, but the FTX token did. So one of the largest exchanges in the world, fourth largest exchange in the world, actually did default, just as I talked about. So far I've nailed two of those things. And so where I'm coming from this is not to say I know it all, is to say it's based on like sound reasoning and understanding basic economics, right? And so this is not, it is speculation, but it's based on some facts. And so what is happening, what I believe is happening, and I'll go back here to show you. I believe that the banking system has systemic risk with exposure to derivatives and crypto. So the banking system, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, they have systemic risk with exposure to derivatives and crypto. One more time. Our banking system has systemic risk and exposure to derivatives in the crypto market. What do I mean by that? Essentially, if you go back to the 2008 deal, the banks knew that they were lending and the people essentially couldn't pay them back. Okay? Keep it real simple like that. But the money they were making off of it was way too enticing, even though they knew there was going to be defaults. It was way too much money to turn down, way too many commissions, way too much money being paid out. And so what we might see, and this is just speculation, but I believe we will see this, and this is why I didn't automatically short here. A lot of people started the short, and I said the story's going to take time to develop, and I've got to think about it. I believe what you're going to see is that our banking system loaned money using altcoins and Bitcoin as collateral. So let's say that FTX or Binance needs some loot, right? They want to borrow money. What they do is they can go to their account ledger and they can say, we have X amount of Ethereum at this value, and we want to borrow money using Ethereum as collateral. Let it sink in. Let it sink in. Let it sink in. Think about what I'm saying. The money was so good in this bull run, and this staking programs and all these things that people as novices you don't really think into. You just jumped in because the money was good. The banking system, same thing. And so what we are facing, and what clued me off to this and gave me this idea, was this bit here. And the banking system, so if Wells Fargo then would lend money, and rather than using cash as collateral or down payment as collateral, if you understand what collateral is, I can put my house up as collateral and somebody will loan me money based on the fact that they can recoup losses. You hearing me? They can recoup the losses. If I don't pay my bills, they take my house. But in the case of FTX, which has not been discovered yet, so this is just an idea, but I think what you're going to find out is that our banking system, or certain sectors of our institutional money system, the big banks, the hedge funds, but primarily banks, and it could be through kind of backdoor ways, so Wells Fargo's name might not be on that transaction. But if you know anything about how the subprime thing happened, what they were doing is they would create a corporation which then would buy the debt from the original lender. If you don't know about it, go learn about it, because it's very similar here. So Wells Fargo has institutions already that are handling what back then would have been these subprime mortgages. So they can take on the debt, and then they have another company purchase that debt, essentially. And those companies have these basically these loans on crypto to things like FTX, and they used crypto as collateral. So they would use their quantity of Ethereum as collateral in order to receive funds. Now, part two, which is crazier, is that using the Ethereum on the exchange, Binance or whatever it is, but using the Ethereum, it wasn't their Ethereum. You see? Listen to what I'm saying. It was not, they weren't, when they were using these staking programs, again, just ideas, but I think this is going to play out. So when you stake that coin, you're giving them permission to go make these deals, right? Without knowing the fine print or the legal language. But in some way, I think the crypto staking and the terms of service, which no one ever paid attention to, allowed for FTX to then leverage your token that you staked into receiving loans from banks. So they used your money as collateral to receive payment and to receive loans. Now, the lender who made the loan, and the collateral to pay that loan being Ethereum or cryptocurrency, is an extremely risky thing. But the money was too good, right? If what I'm saying is true, and I believe it is, this is what they would call Lehman Brothers moment. It's the black swan that, when we think about economies and things that people guess, and in the wintertime it was Evergrande with the Chinese, or the war, or these kinds of things. And in this time period here, from this window, we had natural price action in Bitcoin, up and down, and then somewhere around here in August we went flat. This was a Binance pump. I remember that. You could go look up, and Binance bought up all this Bitcoin and then they sold it. But from August till this, and you wonder if I know a few things. I had this line on this chart Monday the 7th, and look what happened. I had said, and that was based on CPI and some other stuff, but it just lined up, and look what happened. But I want to put out this time period here because this was artificial. During this time period, if you were watching the markets were more volatile than Bitcoin. Why would that be? It's because the institutions have exposure to the liquidation, or they have exposure to the loss of collateral if Bitcoin breaks to a lower level. Plus, they probably have exposure on basic derivatives, right? So this story will take time. If I'm right, I'm going to be like, motherfuckers called it. I'll probably never stop talking about it because this was appearing very strange to me. The market was up and down. Bitcoin should have been moving, and we hit this flat. And normally when it flattens out for a period of months, 90 days, you're going to see one of these. And we did eventually, but we didn't see any dips. We just saw this flat line. And that told me that, and this is at times of extreme fear. See, I'm always paying attention. There was major world events happening during this time. The collapse of the British pound, Japanese yen, all these things were taking place in this time frame, and Bitcoin didn't move. So that told me that something was happening. Institutional money, the invisible hand, was holding this up. And that would be my guess, man. And I think this story is going to play out, and it's a wait and see. But again, you get to the gold box. I learned a little bit last time. I'll be doing it on a shorter time frame. I'll be continuing to short the gold box, and I hope that helps, man. And let me know what you think, dude, because that is a very sound theory, and everybody else is guessing right now. And I think that I've got a pretty good idea as to what's up. And if this were true, that would mean that your banking system has exposure to collapse. The whoever made that loan, the collateral being Ethereum, Matic, they were loaning. So FTX, if they held a position, they could use that just like you would use your house to borrow. But when Matic goes to shit, as long as it held certain levels, they were okay. But if Matic or if Ethereum or one of these coins, Bitcoin, were to hit 9,000, that would be contagion. It would affect your banking system. Then they got to bail out the banks that made the bad loans on these leveraged cryptos accounts, man. Psh. I don't know, man. Too smart. But that's what's up.